Welcome to episode 74 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast, where we talk about the best Australian comedy show from the 90s ever made, Frontline, and other degeneration comedy tidbits. My name is Matt, and joining us on this podcast today is Alison, Daniel, Kim, and Tony. We live for another day, don't we? And man, this, what can we say? Thank you for listening, everyone. That's really it. That's all I got. So you got anything to add before we get into back chat?
No.
Cool.
Thanks for listening. Yep,
Yeah.
that's good.
You need to get better at rolling out the welcome, Matt.
I think so, because at the moment it's just going straight to your applause and then into like my segue.
Brilliant.
Cool.
So there was a new episode of From the Hideout, which is the podcast that Tony Martin does with Pete Smith and Jovan Caro. And it's actually a recording of one of their live shows. I don't know if it was the same live show that our friend Stephen attended, but anyway, it's a recording of one of the, I think they did 2 shows. And there was a very interesting anecdote about The Late Show in this episode, and we've got a clip of it here.
We had done a sketch on the radio called Sid Van Halen, which was... It was me as Sid Halen with a ukulele doing Van Halen songs. And so we went, let's do that for real. So the very first episode of the second series of The Late Show, I asked for Van Halen and Mick Malloy brought out Sid Halen. And Sid Halen was towards the end of his career and he was not in a good place. And the rehearsals had not gone well, but his agent was there and going, no, he'll be fine on the night, mate. And so he's come out and on live television we're going, now here's Sid Halen. And the idea was he would come out with his ukulele and do Van Halen's Jump. And instead he just came out and the credits are rolling and just went into one of his old vaudeville songs. And I'm going, oh, no, that's not the joke. And I've come out and gone, no, Sid, it's Jump. And so he's just started going, Jump. Jump. Jump! And then I've got to save this. I've gone, and now Panama! And he's gone, Panama! And it was very confusing television. And the producer of the show, Ted Robinson, was so pissed off about this, and he's bailed us up in the canteen where remaining audience members were fighting for the single cask of Cooler Bar wine. And he's gone, that was an absolute disgrace. That's the worst thing that's ever gone to air on the ABC. We are never doing that idea again. And you've got to scrap the whole thing. And then we were able to say, well, just before you commit to that, we've already got one in the can. And we showed him Pete Smith doing Dude Looks Like a Lady. He's gone, well, obviously we have to continue. So Pete Smith saved that segment.
Thank you, Tony.
There would never have been Joan Kerner or... Can't remember Donnie Sutherland as Dame Joan Sutherland. I don't know what happened there.
A great series.
Yeah, if you it goes on for a little bit longer and so forth. So that's directly from the Hideout, and I would recommend to listen to that episode or just the podcast in general. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a really fun podcast with lots of great anecdotes from all 3 of them about their TV work and everything else.
And this is the
Good
snippet
fun.
that Tony was referring to, which we already had covered on our episode 21 of the Champagne Comedy Podcast.
Hang on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wait there. Right, geez.
Sid Halen! Jump! Okay, that was Van Halen's Jump, performed by Sid Halen. Do you know Panama? It goes pretty much the same, but instead of saying jump, you say Panama. So here we go with Panama.
Oh, memories.
Utterly shambolic,
Fantastic.
but still bloody funny. And it does explain why the vast majority of those musical mix-ups were pre-recorded.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else here is rushing out to buy. There's a new book out on Tism, of all things, that just came out in the last few weeks. And if you're a Tony Martin fan, there's a few quotes from him scattered throughout there. Not a huge amount. You'd want to be a fan of Tism more than Tony Martin to pick it up, but he is in there, and it's worth a look.
Is this an authorized or unauthorized biography?
There's a lot, those 33 and a third.
Oh, yes,
books,
yes.
The little tiny ones. There's a pile of them back there. Yeah, there's an Australian version or an Australasian version that they do. They've brought one out for Machiavelli and the Four Seasons.
Ah.
But yeah, I think it was officially out a couple of weeks ago, but my copy only arrived this week. But yeah, it's a good read.
No,
if you like
it's
Tism
shit. It's shit. It's a shit read.
It's a shit read about a shit band.
Yes.
But otherwise, it's worth a look. I haven't read it properly, but I did notice they mentioned they interviewed Tony Martin as one of the few people who were brave enough to put their real name to quotes, and he's in there a bit.
But no, he's not under Tony Ray Martin.
But yeah, it makes sense because he's sort of been drawn into the orbit with Damien Cowell.
Yeah. The one bit I did notice was Tony was talking about him and Mick did a sketch with Tism for I think like the 1996 arias.
Yeah.
95.
Yes, he talks a bit about that. I think there's some other bits further up as well, but yeah, he's in there.
Excellent. And you can see that clip, Greg the Stop Sign, on YouTube. Yeah.
The official ARIA account.
Yeah, bouncing up and down in the elevator.
Yeah, so supposedly they did a fair bit of damage to that elevator doing that.
Oh, speaking, and you know who else was in that video clip? Other than Richard Stubbs, Mel Bainbridge, and Michael Veitch. Tony Martin caught up with Michael Veitch as well at one of Tony's shows, and it was posted on the Sizzletown account, which is kind of neat. So you had Kelvin Cunnington and the Fat Man, which was pretty neat. How was that for DGen?
There's just one other thing. Speaking of YouTube, I've noticed that Have You Been Paying Attention, which has returned for the year, is doing something a bit different for their latest season. They're putting up full episodes on YouTube shortly after the Australian broadcast for everywhere else but Australia.
Of course.
Alison, you're in the UK, so you're able to catch up on the show on YouTube pretty much immediately after broadcast.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Well, as far as I can tell, they've only just started this year. So for Australia, you still have to watch it on 10play. For everywhere else, you can watch it on YouTube. They allow Australian viewers to watch it on YouTube a week later. So it's sort of like it's a thing where when they upload it, they can say which countries it can be shown in. There's quite a lot of other TV shows that do similar sort of things, like Taskmaster, for instance, uploads their episodes pretty shortly after UK broadcast, but they don't allow it to be shown in countries where they've got existing broadcast rights. So, yeah, if you were in Australia or the UK, you couldn't watch it, but if you're in the US, you could.
I've been noticing that lately where there's been more and more TV shows, especially classic ones, that are getting official YouTube releases. Like, obviously edited for, copyright reasons or, music right reasons or whatever, if need be. But ones that I've discovered in the last couple of weeks, other than the Drew Carey show, which I mentioned last episode, but one that I discovered today was The Bill. So, when you're listening to a podcast or, watching Frontline or anything like that, and then you go, oh, what was on The Bill later that week? Or you can just go straight to YouTube and watch the full episode.
And it's pretty much simply because everybody uses YouTube, and also to get some of that sweet ad money.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah, good on him.
I'm not sure if I read this right, but I read something earlier this week. Are they also putting up like early episodes of Have You Been Paying Attention, like the first couple of seasons?
Yeah, they've been doing that on Working Dog's account, and they started that like last year, where they were just drip feeding it, and now they're doing it on a weekly basis.
Oh, okay.
So they go back to the very beginning, and I think they're up to season at the time of this recording. They're midway through season 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all in this week's TV Week, packed with great family entertainment.
Oh, Jesus!
Don't give yourself a paper cut in that TV guide, Daniel G.
Oh, yes. And it's a packed program guide this week because a little indie comedy film was released this past Thursday in 1997, detailing the exploits of a family called the Kerrigans. You might have heard about it. It's from the creators of Frontline, and it's called The Castle.
It takes just a little while to get rid of the niggling thought that these characters are being laughed at by the filmmakers, but then you're suddenly embraced by the enormous affection the filmmakers have for Darryl and his family. Part of this is due to Michael Caton's wonderful performance as Darryl, but the film has a number of winning performances that contribute to the endearing world of the Kerrigans. It's not the best directed film of the year, nor does it have the best cinematography, but the roughness around its edges doesn't detract too much from the heart of the film. It's a simple first effort from the Frontline team, shot in a very short space of time, but for me it was a winner. David.
Well, I'm afraid it wasn't for me, Margaret. I really didn't get onto the wavelengths of this film at all. I thought it was patronising towards its characters. I didn't find it funny. It reminded me of the sort of humour that I thought had gone out with Dad and Dave 60 years ago.
Well, it's nice to know it's still around. I think it's a very Australian sort of humour.
Well, that may be. Maybe I'm just not into that kind of humour because I just didn't find it funny.
And it's a matter of whether you do make that breakthrough and think, oh, no, they really like this family.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was silly. And technically, it really is. I mean, you say it's rough. I mean, it's very rough. Very rough.
How many stars are you going to give this?
I'll give it 1.5.
Oh, David. Oh, you really have started off tonight meanly. I'm giving it 4 stars.
1.5. Tell him he's dreaming.
Wow.
But the thing is, though, I will have to vouch for David Stratton because when I discovered that clip, because SBS had been uploading episodes of the movie show.
That's on SBS On Demand if you want to watch it.
Yeah, but David did reassess his review on The Castle many years later, and he admits that he was way too harsh and he just didn't understand it at the time, or the whole thing. Or he just said he just didn't connect with it, and he goes, if I could reset it or whatever, he'll give it a higher score. So he...
I think David looked at his bookshelves and saw that he'd titled one of his own books, I Peed on Fellini, and realised that his sense of humour was not as highbrow as he thought.
Yes.
I do think it is quite interesting that, whether you like the movie depends on whether you're laughing with or at the Kerrigans.
Well, it's important to remember that Margaret Pomerantz is now a regular on the Weekly, so her point of view may be less staunch than it once was.
Oh, come on.
So,
she called Tom Gleeson a ball bag the other week. She's not all bad.
Who hasn't?
So, the other thing that's in the program guides is that SBS will debut Canada's version of the Frontline show, unofficially that is, on Saturday night. It's called The Newsroom.
Yes, I remember that.
So it's according to Andrew Conway, writing in the Sydney Morning Herald Guide, it's a similar spoof of Frontline. The Mike Moore of The Newsroom is George Findlay, the show's insecure, overbearing, and decidedly politically incorrect news director who's obsessed with everything but the news, notably his salary, company BMW, and seducing newsroom guests, brackets, sounds like real life. The show, which is said to be as funny as Frontline, brackets, surely some mistake, will air for 13 weeks each Saturday at 9 p.m, the first half of a comedy double with The Fast Show, a comedy sketch import from the BBC along the lines of Full Frontal.
What? Sorry. No,
they are not on the same level.
Definitely
Full Frontal
not.
and The Fast Show. So, it's a show when I was trying to find clips of it, I couldn't find any of it because it's kind of been eclipsed by the HBO series of the same name.
Were there furious letters in the Green Guide about, how the newsroom isn't as funny as Frontline or whatever, and they kicked off again?
I haven't looked ahead in terms of letters. Okay. There were a couple of letters about Frontline, but they're sort of not interesting enough to be read out here on the podcast. Basically talking about the rotary angle of the Hole in the Heart episode. So I'm guessing, there might have been a bit of a concerted push by the Rotarians to get their point across.
What? Norman the Rotarian called up and complained.
They weren't called Norman, but yes.
As Monty Python would say, they were keen Rotarians.
I feel like saying angry letters to the Green Guide is pretty much a safe bet every week.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to the program guide proper. So on the ABC, we've got Frontline at 8 o'clock, Four Corners at 8:30, Media Watch at 9:15. Then at 9:30, the final of the Scottish BBC comedy series Atletico Partick. According to the guide, I thought you'd be pleased. According to the guide, it's the day of the final and Karen faces a big decision, although probably not as big a decision as whether or not to watch Atletico Partick. Next week in the time slot, there's something funnier and Australian, thank God.
Ooh, what could that be?
I think you'll like it, but I won't spoil it now.
Okay.
Tune in next week, I dare you. Over on Channel 7, we've got Australia's Most Wanted, hosted by Roger Clemson at 7:30 rather. At 8:30, we've got new episodes of the Australian sketch comedy series Full Frontal. Now, as far as I can tell, this is the 5th and final season on Channel 7 before it spun off to Channel 10 in 1998 as Totally Full Frontal. And there's an interesting review from Jim Shembry. Jim, How I Punked the Twitterverse Shembry.
Hang on. Shembry wrote a review of Full Frontal?
Yeah, in the Green Guide.
Yeah, no, I would need to clarify that because Shembry wrote for Full Frontal. If you look at the credits, I'm not sure if it was this season, but one of the seasons, his name pops up in the credits, which is a startling discovery to make if you're watching the credits of Full Frontal. But
I think he certainly didn't disclose this in the review.
No, I think they accepted submissions from people, like if you sent in gags. But yeah, no, because he was working on a comedy career in the mid-90s. With predictable results. But yeah, for him to have reviewed it is, it's Jim Shembry. It's just the latest in a long line of moral turpitude. It's not a... boundaries have not concerned him in other areas of his media career.
Did he write sketches or the characters for Ross Wilson's Ron or Eric Banner's
Pointer?
No, not Pointer. No. Eric. No, or the one squirt at the front and two squirts in the back.
I have no idea what he actually wrote about or whatever. I know he wrote a book. Which is technically a comedy book, but is quite chilling in parts and a terrifying insight into the. I can't go on without becoming libelous. So
okay, all right.
But anyway, sorry to disrupt.
No, that's okay. I can drag it back into the factuality by reading out his review. Okay, so Jim writes, it is a straight case of more of the same for the new issue of Full Frontal, which may not be great news for those who believe TV comedy should be groundbreaking and challenging. It is, however, heartening affirmation of that sturdy old comedy maxim, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There are 3 new members to the FF troupe, Darren Gilshannon, Ursula Brooks and Gabby Milgate, brackets, the sedentary girl in Muriel's Wedding, who gave us the memorable catchphrase, "You're terrible, Muriel." They, however, spend a lot of their time in the background as the regular cast run through a repertoire of sketches, ranging from the habits of yobbo Australian cricketers to the musical version of Pauline Hanson's political career to Senator Mal Colston's abuse of free chauffeur-driven cars. As was the case with many of last year's shows, the funniest bits come courtesy of Sean McAuliffe. Here he gives us motivational speaker Simon Forbes, a river dancing Michael Collins, and an impersonation of Scottish comedian Billy Connolly that is so on target it takes a while to figure out that it's not a guest cameo.
The Westgate Bridge. It's a huge bridge that cars use to travel from one side to the other. It's f***ing brilliant. Look at it, it's fantastic. It's great. I tell you a wee story about this bridge. When they first built it, when they first put it together, they were going to put 2 lanes either side of the road. But the designers said, no, f*** off, let's put 3. And they said, f***ing brilliant. So they did, and they've done that there. It's f***ing incredible.
Ironically, McAuliffe, funny as he is, turns out to be the only sore point in this first episode. He is so ubiquitous, it almost turns into the Sean McAuliffe show featuring the Full Frontal comedy players. There is too much talent there to allow such a lack of balance to continue.
Yeah, it got to that point, and you could see where McAuliffe was becoming burnt out. And
I will say a very spot-on impression of Billy Connolly's World Tour of Australia, though.
Oh, yeah. I know off by heart right after that moment that we just played there.
Yeah.
Yes, I know when you vomit and it comes out, it really stinks. And like I just know that his beard goes different sizes and everything. So
have you had a chance to practice these impressions at other events besides podcasts?
Oh, oh no, I was just doing an impression of Sean McAuliffe doing an impression of Billy Connolly. So
mind blown. Very confusing.
Plus, I got the Full Frontal DVDs in the other room.
Yeah, well, If you want to go through, 45 minutes of each episode just to find a 30-second grab each week, I wouldn't say no.
Well, that moment is actually on the incomplete Sean McAuliffe DVD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So,
I managed to find it eventually on YouTube, along with an actual Scotsman reacting to that clip.
It's great.
I found quite a lot of Aussie reaction clips. I found another one with an American looking at the castle, which was kind of interesting with the fact that it was the American edit of the castle, which has quite a few different changes to try and make it a bit more understandable to Americans. All right, then at 9:30, we've got a new US drama series called Millennium. So this is created by Chris Carter, who also created The X-Files. The series follows the investigations of former FBI agent Frank Black, who is now a consultant working for a mysterious organization known as the Millennium Group, with the ability to see inside the minds of criminals. So this is the very first episode, the pilot, which aired in the US in October 96. In the pilot, Frank Black, played by Lance Henriksen, and his family moved to Seattle, played by Vancouver, Canada, where he tracks a serial killer whose savagely slain victims include an exotic dancer whose name is Calamity.
Millennium's a great show, by the way. It's really it's well worth checking out if you can be bothered.
Yeah, they haven't put it up on Disney Plus yet, so
no,
I'm waiting for it, and as well as The Lone Gunman, the one season.
Well, Millennium was really hard to find for a while there. I know it was like you found the DVDs great, but otherwise you were out of luck. So I'm not sure whether there's any sort of reason beyond it being really grim and bleak that they weren't letting people watch it.
It was actually a really strong X-Files spin-off.
Yeah, no, it was one of those ones they mucked around with the backstory a bit, like they sort of went in the second season, it's more about this. But it was good all the way through, really. Lance Henriksen is great in everything, but yeah, it's worth checking out after you've watched Frontline.
Yep. It's a palate cleanser.
Especially after Full Frontal as well. All right, on SBS we've got soccer at 7:30, National Soccer League highlights. At 8:30, a US documentary called Ringel and Pitt, all about the lives and work of Greta Stern and Ellen Auerbach, two pioneering women who opened a photography studio in 1929. And then at 9:30, we've got an Italian comedy from 1988 starring Roberto Benigni.
No.
Before Life is Beautiful, before Pinocchio, even before Son of the Pink Panther, Roberto was the little devil. But please allow him to explain the movie in this interview set in front of a film editor working at his editing desk.
Okay, Mr. Benigni, let's talk about your new movie.
Here, this is everybody knows this room. This is the kitchen of the movie where we are preparing all the vegetables for the film. I realized this film in 3 months about the last hope of the world. Is a documentary about the vegetables in the markets and the last chance for the people living in the world is to have to save these vegetables, and Nino Baragli is the editor of this market of the movie that in Italy we call everybody knows. When Nino Baragli is editing this movie, I can explain you what is the editing. He cuts and he with the
attaches
with the how can I explain you the difficult thing? This is the last thing, the last moment in the movie where the editor is cutting the scene that we have realized during the shooting. And now the editor with the director, both together, they make the film to after we can see.
Okay, thanks.
do you reckon he's do you reckon he's a bit clearer in Italian? Because like in English he's absolutely baffling.
I think it's showing that whole thing at the Oscars a couple of years later wasn't an act.
No.
Wow.
But yeah, that's absolutely crystal clear, isn't it?
All I could think of was Uncle Alberto. Who was just
Although I did like him saying that the editing suite is the kitchen of the movie.
Yeah, he was going a bit metaphorical there, but because of his English is not great, it sort of was a complete salad, really.
Yeah.
Well, it's vegetables, so.
Yeah, he goes on like that for about another 18 minutes.
Oh, my goodness. And then Joe Dolce pokes his head in and goes, "What's the matter, you?"
And the only reason...
cut to Judith Lucy just looking at the camera.
Oh, just like the episode we're about to watch, you've only got him on to talk about the movie and nothing else. So we definitely got that.
So, yeah, funnily enough, it's not a documentary about the vegetables. Basically, the synopsis is this. Father Morris, played by Walter Matthau, who is studying at the North American Pontifical College in Rome, performs an exorcism on a woman possessed by a demon. The escaped demon, named Giuditta, Italian for Judith, played by Roberto Benigni, starts following Father Morris everywhere, indulging in mischief.
And there'll be more from Walter Matthau later in this episode.
Oh, yes, Walter Matthau.
I can't... He's in the room?
Yes.
He's back from the dead.
Yes. You know, Homer is based on Walter Matthau. Yeah. The old school Homer.
So that's why you can do both impressions very well. Not much of a stretch.
I like grumpy old men and grumpy old men, so...
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, Channel 9 now. At 7:30, we've got Friends. It's Season 2, Episode 18, originally aired March 1996, titled The One Where Dr. Ramore Dies. Joey foolishly claims in an interview for Soap Opera Digest that he writes all his own lines when portraying Dr. Drake Ramore on Days of Our Lives. This causes the angry scriptwriters to kill off Joey's character via elevator shaft.
Dr. Ramore, report to first floor emergency stat.
Anyone else need to go on the elevator? Dr. Wong? Dr. Wong? No. They only said you. Oh, okay.
I love you, Drake.
Yeah, whatever.
Drake, look out! Did they just kill off Joey?
No. Now maybe.
So there you go. One take wonder.
Oh, too bad that didn't happen at the TISM performance. Just joking.
Well, it was based on the LA Law death where someone went down an elevator shaft.
Yeah. The door opens and they walk in, fall down. That's it.
Yes.
Just totally random. They just randomly killed off that character.
All right. At 8 o'clock, in addition to its usual Tuesday night time slot, and pretty much for this week only, it's the Drew Carey Show.
Oh, wait. Move over, Palmer. Bring my love to me tonight. Got it in Cleveland underneath the starry light.
I think Matthew's having a stroke.
Yes. Hey, because of that show, I follow Cleveland in baseball. So I've been to Cleveland.
Didn't know that.
Yeah. Cleveland Guardians, known previously as the Cleveland Indians. So, and in fact, next week, hold on, I can tell you right now, I'm getting my box set delivered on Monday.
You've ordered the whole DVD minus all of the copyrighted music box set.
Yes.
Well, this is season 1, episode 18. This originally aired in February 96. I did check, in addition to the bill, and have you been paying attention, the Drew Carey Show is also being uploaded legally in its entirety to YouTube. I think it's somewhere up to episode 8 of season 1 as of this recording. So,
well, season 1's available it came out on DVD in Australia. Season 1 did. So,
okay.
I've got that, and it's also available on iTunes.
All right. So, this is season 1, episode 18, titled "Playing the Unified Field." Lisa, played by Katie Silverstone, encourages a reluctant Drew to move on and see other people like she has. Drew asks out his thrill-seeking barber Sue, spelled like the Native American tribe, and played by a special guest.
Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yes.
Yeah, see? I know the episode, and yeah, she's in it for the one thing. It's a good episode,
yeah. So she manages to get Drew in a fight, and even worse, strikes up a friendship with Mimi, played by Kathy Kinney. Just when Drew starts to wonder if he can keep up with Sue, Lisa calls and tells him she's found a way that they can date in public. But how can he tell Sue and survive? Peter,
That's a good episode.
Peter Weiniger, writing in his review, says that what rescues tonight's edition is the guest appearance by Jamie Lee Curtis, who really knows how to play wild and eccentric characters, and very sexy ones at that.
Yes, it is. She does that well.
At 8:30, we've got Water Rats, Season 2, Episode 10, titled Eye for an Eye. Taylor falls for a handsome man named Brett Boyce, who is an operator of a water taxi company.
Oh, fantastic.
She soon becomes entangled in the conflict between Brett and his older brother Liam, who works for a rival water taxi company.
Because the market is just there.
It's saturated.
Sorry, hold on. That deserves a nicely done, Kim.
And the water police are called upon to rescue a 16-year-old boy who is attempting to sail around the continent. So again, this all seems slightly ripped from the headlines, but just more hydrated. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like Tony Bullimore was asking for too much money.
Yeah. Okay, then there's a split at 9:30, IMT in Melbourne and Super League in Sydney. It's the Cronulla Sharks versus the Canterbury Bulldogs. I sometimes try and think about this just in terms of the different animals dueling. So, I think a shark would be able to beat a bulldog, maybe even defeat 100 bulldogs. But in this case, the actual game, it wasn't to be. The Bulldogs won 16-6. All right, to Channel 10, and we've got Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise. And again, they've just put, well, in Melbourne, they've just put Australian lifestyle series. In Sydney, they've managed to whittle it down to 2 words, lifestyle show. I did actually check next week's guide, and thankfully they have not whittled it down further to just lifestyle.
or just simply show.
So again, I'm borrowing from 22nd of May 1997. Felicity catches up with designer Adele Palmer, Richard looks at worms, and Brent examines the latest home entertainment equipment.
Well, at least it's not Ian cooking with worms.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Then at 8:30, we've got the British drama series Peak Practice, Season 2, Episode 7, titled Chance Encounter. This aired in April 1994. Beth plans to meet a former lover at a secret rendezvous. While travelling across the peaks, she encounters an accident and tries to save the life of a girl injured in an accident. And then at 9:35, it's Medivac, Season 2, Episode 5. In this episode, Harry's old army friend Bruce wants the past put right regarding the man they killed in Vietnam. And Marina asks Harry to clear the red tape so doctors can operate on a Papua New Guinean boy. Perhaps Harry should get in touch with Frontline. Apparently they're really good at this sort of thing. And with that piss weak joke, let's get to the actual episode.
No problem, Daniel. All right, in regards to an intro for Frontline, for the podcast, I've reached out to Kim, who reached out to her lovely daughter, Audrey, and she's willing to make the sacrifice and do the Mike Moore impression.
That's right.
Take it away, Audrey.
Hello, I'm Audrey. This is Frontline Season 3, Episode 8, I Get the Big Names. Broadcast Monday, April 14th, 1997.
Hey! Good one, Audrey.
Audrey gets the big names.
Yes.
Yes.
I think Audrey is the big name.
Does Audrey also win the fictional Tim Tams?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Tim Tams will be in the mail, okay?
Thank you.
And there'll be more Tim Tams later in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, and also
Real ones.
we're finally onto the final disc of the DVD box set. We've moved on to the
first
disc 2 of
episode
the
on
third
the
season.
disc. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're watching it on iView, you're watching
episode 8.
Yeah, I'm watching a shonky. I watched a shonky version again. I've got the DVD. I just couldn't be asked to get
You're
it
lazy.
out.
That's what it is.
I watched both, and I think they're the same.
Yeah. I can confirm that there are no edits to this version. So I mean, this means that we don't get to hear Mike's dulcet tones instructing us to
edit it there.
Yeah, I did suspect there may not have been any changes because there was no music.
No copyrighted music.
Mm.
Oh, I'm sure that someone's name drop would have been copyrighted at least. So maybe replace a couple of.
There's an awful lot of name drops coming up, guys.
Yeah.
As we've now stepped all over Audrey's intro. Sorry, Audrey. you put a lot of effort into that. Seriously, thank you. And Audrey's mum, thank you as well for allowing to give permission to do that.
You're welcome.
Well, I Get the Big Names, it's called, and the synopsis is that Mike is convinced that the only reason he does get big name guests is because he is such a good interviewer. But does Mike get the big names or the big names get him? One or the other. Little from column A, little from column B. But in the start of the episode that happens is that Emma is busy on the phone organising guests for the show, and she tells Prowsey that Mel Gibson has agreed to chat to Mike. Mel Gibson, how about that? So when he's not busy featuring on Hey Hey Saturday, he's willing to be on Frontline.
And this is before Mel Gibson was problematic as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very much a product of its time.
Audrey did ask her, who is Mel Gibson? And then I was like, where do I start? So I had to kind of say, this is before all of that. So, yes.
Yeah. But Prowsey has another way of telling Mike, saying that Mel currently He's saying no, but there's a method to his complete madness.
If I rush in there and I say, Mike, Mel Gibson wants to come on the show to advertise his new film, right? He's only speaking to you because he knows Frontline rates well, and here's a list of questions you're allowed to ask. What do you reckon he's going to say?
I suspect the answer would be no.
Or, Mike, Mel Gibson's coming back to Australia. Private holiday. He's not doing any interviews, but he wants to speak to you because he's heard how great you are.
Mike is now drooling.
Bingo.
Yeah, but you didn't say that.
Yet, therein lies the art.
The art of gentle persuasion.
Well, look, it's difficult to believe that Mike has got this far in his career and not made the connection between, advertorial and, the guests that he can get on. But if he had, you wouldn't have an episode. But yeah,
you're right. You do have to kind of suspend your belief a bit for this amount of naivety.
But don't forget, you remember when Shirley Strawn was on promoting Skyhook's single, Happy Hippie Hut. Happy Hippie Hut, yeah.
Happy Hippie Hut.
Yeah.
Happy Hippie Hut, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's just so obvious that they're out here to tour for their new movie and they're speaking to you, but not for their movie because they like you so much. It's like,
it's all about Mike's ego, isn't it? And he's sort of formed this opinion that they will only speak to him. They won't speak to any of those other terrible interviewers. They will only speak to Mike Moore because he's so amazing. And so it's all wrapped up in like his self-perception.
Well, it's also a weird thing that we sort of do out here a bit. You don't see it. I don't know if it happens as much, but it used to happen quite a bit on 7:30, which, is a serious ABC current affairs show. But then they would have some local touring, American celebrity who's out here promoting something, and they would interview them on that. And you'd sort of be like, oh, this seems a bit of an odd mix. But I guess the ABC didn't really have another show for them to appear on. And a lot of the time, the names are big names. You want to have them on your network. But Australia now doesn't sort of have Tonight shows and sort of light entertainment shows to interview them on. So they end up on current affairs shows where you're sitting there going, why are they speaking to this person? We've just had, 25 minutes on coal-fired power plants and then 5 minutes on check out my new dance track. It's like, this is a bit jarring, but okay.
Doesn't 7:30 rate really well? Like, if you look at the ratings, it always seems to be in the top 10 or 20 each week.
It does pretty well for an ABC show. It does very well. But, I mean, it's up against – it's on at a time when everyone's watching, so it probably comes fourth, but still rates quite well. But, MasterChef is –
I'm also reminded of the last New Year's Eve broadcast that the ABC did from Sydney. Which had
the Robbie Williams thing. That's right. The whole thing was he was performing, but then he kept
promoting his biopic.
He kept talking about his movie, and he actually was blatantly saying, watch my movie," throughout the whole performance.
And you know what? And it was a big flop too.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Good movie. It was just too expensive. His audience was too small.
Well, it was a really, let's not go into the world of Robbie Williams, but it was such a weird, like they spent a mint on it. And it's like no one in America's heard of him unless they literally get everyone in the UK and everyone in Australia to go see it. It wasn't going to make its money back, but they made the movie and then it didn't make its money back.
But it won all the awards.
It's probably one of those things where, in 7 years' time, it'll have made a profit. It'll, everyone who sees it likes it. So I guess word of mouth will eventually get it, over the line. But yeah, it was such a weird sort of.
It got a good unsolicited plug on late night American TV by one of the hosts.
Okay.
I forget her name, but it's After Midnight.
Well, one of those, like a lot of American film reviewers and that I follow are like, what is going on with this movie? Then they see the movie and go, hey, it was a great movie. I've got no idea who Robbie Williams is or why he was a monkey, but I really enjoyed it.
Anyway, tangent time. All right. So during Mike's chat with Dom about the guests that Mike's interviewed, we discovered that they all have something to promote.
Yeah. Look, I just arrived for your wall.
Oh, it's a leaf from Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, and it's even signed.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
To think I spoke to a man who walked on the moon. How long ago was that interview?
Oh, it was when he came out to do the Holden commercials.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we spoke about them too. Now, to think he wasn't going to do any interviews.
Until he heard it was you.
Yeah. And
So-
Daniel, you've read my mind as well with this, so...
Yeah, so Dom asks, when was that interview? It would have been quite a while ago because, Buzz Aldrin was in a Holden commercial in 1991. Can anybody remember which Holden car it was for?
The Holden Cartwheel? Oh, that's Toyota
Commodore?
Cartwheel. Ooh, sorry.
Astra?
No. You're
Wasn't the Astra.
kind of close. It
Tirana.
is space themed.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the Apollo.
Play the ad.
For me, the Apollo project was an experience that touched my very soul. When I opened the hatch and saw that vast expanse before me, I felt an incredible surge of excitement. And when the time came for me to put my foot down, I experienced total exhilaration. I'd say it was the single most important experience of my life.
The new fuel-injected Holden Apollo, as recommended by Buzz Aldrin.
The Holden Apollo.
You know what my favourite Buzz Aldrin joke is?
I'm regretting asking, but go on.
Oh, no, it's clean. It's 100% clean. It's just all about the delivery, which I'm about to fuck up. Okay, so while Neil Armstrong's first words when they were on the moon was, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind, blah, blah, blah. What was Buzz's first words?
What were the words, Matt?
No, Neil, after you.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I was worried that it was going to be more dad jokey.
That is a dad joke.
Yeah.
It's time to get the review from Jim Shembry on that joke.
To be fair to Jim Shembry, his review of McAuliffe and Full Frontal was actually pretty spot on. I would say.
Yeah, I know. It's questioning our reality.
He considers himself a really big comedy buff, and he's one of those guys that is very much a stopped clock as far as comedy goes. He's got opinions on everything, and sometimes they're right, but he's got opinions on everything that's comedy related.
To be fair, so does everyone else on this podcast.
But everyone on this podcast has considered intelligent opinions that have been arrived through, observation and consideration.
And
whereas some of Jim's views that I've heard, I'm not sure where he obtained them from.
And also, we have intelligent listeners who managed to give us 5-star ratings.
Oh, that's nice of them.
Yeah.
We haven't had one for a while.
So
you bastards! Why are you?
It's because sorry, my parents are on holidays. Okay,
yeah,
so they haven't been able to give us a star rating for a while.
So yeah, Holden trying to promote a car called the Apollo. Who else would they get to endorse their brand new car than Buzz Aldrin? Especially if Neil Armstrong is busy.
Holden Death Trap. There we go. I am so sorry.
And
it's been a while.
It said at the end of the ad there, as endorsed by Buzz Aldrin. I would say not explicitly, because he was certainly saying things which could be construed about the Apollo space mission and Apollo the car. But then again, if you're paying him money to be in your ad, I would say that's probably an endorsement, don't you think?
Are you saying that they just talked to Buzz Aldrin for a while about Apollo and then just edited it in such a way that it sounded like he was talking up the car?
Pretty much, yeah.
Really like driving and choosing Holden Apollo.
Apollo was the most important thing of my life, and I'll always recommend this car.
And yet, you always hear that the sentences end on an upward inflection, so you know that's been badly edited.
He is in Australia, though, and there's a bunch of us who do that at the end of sentences. Although I have to put that on. Because I'm from Adelaide, I don't do that. Well, sometimes I do, but anyway, whatever.
That's what happens when you don't drink enough Farmers Union.
Oh, gosh.
Well,
it's turning into the Gruen podcast, which...
oh, goodness,
Can we get a cut to a shot of Russell Halcroft going, laughing at Will Anderson's crap jokes and clapping. Every cutaway is just Halcroft doing that. It's so fucking annoying.
But that's the job requirement, isn't it? When you sign on for Gruen, it says your duties: clap, laugh at will.
Spout some bullshit about advertising. Yeah.
What, as in laugh at Will Anderson or just laugh at Will?
Well,
As in WILL. Yeah.
As long as we have the footage to cut to, we don't care how we get it.
Yeah, it's always the same clapping pose or whatever.
Yeah, it is. I'm sure they just use the same shot in each episode.
Yeah, you see the applause and then Russell's wearing like a different shirt at the time. Yeah. It's like a whole Russell Coit cut.
Every time they cut to Russell, he's like 10 years younger. Got a beard and like a lush head of hair. They cut back to him on the desk and he's
and
looking
you see like the
today.
background, it goes from Gruen to Gruen transfer. So it's... we're introduced to the new sound guy, Trev, who replaces Jace after he was fired. And Brooke was the one who got him fired because she walks into a whole bunch of disappointed staff. He got fired, though, because Jace leaked quite...
Yeah.
no pun.
Brooke leaked first and then Jace leaked.
Yes. Yeah. Brooke going to the toilet. Basically, it was like a joke from The Naked Gun, really. Where he goes to the toilet and you hear the lapel mic go. Yeah.
I was trying to work out if this was based on anything, and I couldn't think of a specific incident in Australia. I did find 2 British sitcoms that have a very similar plot where there's a hot mic involved. I don't know, first of all, if anyone can remember any sort of hot mic incidents from Australia. I mean, there've been loads, but you know,
I've got hot mic bloopers from radio, but that's really it.
Yeah.
So,
well,
but
I'll tell you the British ones that I found. So the final episode of Yes, Prime Minister, not the. And I'm not including the 2013 revival series here. This is the proper Yes, Prime Minister. So
the original run.
Yeah, from 1988. The final episode is called The Tangled Web, and there's a bit where Sir Humphrey is interviewed on the radio, and he doesn't say very much in his typical manner, and then they end the interview, and then he starts talking properly to the interviewer, and they're still recording it. And so you can find clips of that on YouTube. There's also an episode of Drop the Dead Donkey, which is quite interesting. This one's from 1990, and the episode being from the early 90s is, of course, called Sex, Lies and Audio Tape. And they actually record the newsreader Sally having sex with a crew member. And then there's a scene where one of the newsroom staff distributes cassette tapes to every other member of staff, which is very much like this episode of Frontline. And there's a bit in this sex tape where she says, "Oh, my Viking," as she's having sex with this guy. And then there's a scene where they're all wearing Viking helmets in the office, which is a very, very Frontline joke. And apparently that particular episode was based on some rumors about a BBC newsreader. I think that newsreader's still alive, so I won't name them, but apparently this was based on a real incident. So,
well, that reminds me of that Simpsons episode of Krusty Gets Cancelled from 1993, and the character, the hand puppet, which is Gabbo, that's trying to replace, and then they do the whole those will hold over those SOBs, and calling kids to sons of bitches, but the whole thing was based on and this is off Wikipedia, which I'm reading right now, so it's 100% accurate and correct and fact checked. It's based on a widespread urban legend claiming that the host of a children's radio or television program, often identified as Uncle Don, made a derogatory comment about child audience about the child audience in the end of the show without realizing that he was still on the air. So
yeah.
Again, I think it's one of those ones that's largely anecdotal. Nobody's been able to, find actual footage of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh well.
So anyway, this is based on a thing that's happened not only in sitcoms but in real life as well. And this is all
bunches
sorts
of
things.
tapes going around.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's very, very common in broadcast industry to sort of collect up all the bloopers and turn them into Christmas tapes and watch them.
Yeah, and think of it. Fast forward years later, just like in the cricket, can't bowl, can't throw. Joe the cameraman.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's in the future, so it's got nothing to do with this.
So we get our first glimpse of our new cast member.
Yeah, good old
Trev.
Stephen Curry as Trev.
Or Dale Kerrigan.
Well, one of three cast members, who have the castle and Frontline in common.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the other two being Terry O'Mora, who plays Dennis Denuto in the castle, and Marty in Frontline, and also Linda Gibson, who has a smaller role in the castle.
There's also Tony Martin, of course, who's in both Frontline and the castle, in small roles, admittedly.
Thanks for showing me up there.
Well, it just occurred to me just then.
And according to Andrew Conway, writing in the Sydney Morning Herald Guide, Torquil Nielsen, who played Jace, left Frontline to pursue a feature film offer.
Oh.
Now, I'm not quite sure what that would have been. Sort of looking at the IMDb pages, that might have been there was a feature film titled Amy, which so I'm just trying to find the Wikipedia page.
Which is 100% accurate and fact-checked.
Written by David Parker, directed by Nadia Tass.
From director of Malcolm, yeah.
Mm.
And Torquil played Luke Lasseter. Again, I've got no idea if that's the big breakout role or anything, but that's certainly the next movie that's in the list after Frontline.
Yeah, because Torquil made a name for himself in theatre as well down the track.
It's hard to know because watching the episode, it's hard to see them sort of suddenly going. And now Jace, who's said 3 lines across the season, is now sort of one of the main players as far as audio recordings are concerned. And with them coming into the back end of the season, it seems easy to imagine they would go, let's get in Stephen Curry and beef it up for one episode so we can make a few points about audio recording.
Mm. Stephen Curry does look like a Trev because in a future movie of his, in Takeaway, he plays a character called Trev who runs the rival takeaway thing to Vince Colosimo.
Brave of you to mention you've seen Takeaway.
Yeah.
We'll take your word for it, Matt.
Yeah.
You'll be telling us about you and your stupid mate next.
Wait, what's going on here? Oh, so only Tony got that reference.
Yeah, all right.
I watched it for Madeline West, okay? So, yeah.
I have seen both those films, yes.
We're going to talk about Can't Stop the Murders and
Yes.
No,
let's not.
No, we're not.
I've got that too, yeah.
No,
we'll add those to the bottom of the list once we've gotten through Funky Squad and Pictures of You and every single episode of The Panel.
Welcome to the Tangent Podcast.
Down on the list.
Matt has promised me this is going to turn into an Australian comedy film review podcast at some stage.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be discussing all the hits.
Yeah.
Can you name any of them?
I was going to say 3 weeks max. All the hits.
It's just 2 hours of silence because we can't name any hits. Make great white noise. Anyway, Mike is doing his radio chat to ABC's Sarah Henderson, where the name drops start. So basically doing a Gussie Sampson.
Over the years, Sarah, I've become a Republican.
Because?
Well, it's got to rub off.
I interviewed the Dalai Lama.
This is the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, hang on. Reflected in his eyes. Bishop Bello of East Timor was similar. We spoke to him minutes after he was presented with the Nobel Prize. Jose Ramos Horta, British.
Horta, 13.
Arizona Aquino, Yasser Arafat, Evan Shevardnadze, of course.
He's going too fast. Sheva who? King who? Shevardnadze, King Hussein, that's 21.
Aung San Suu Kyi.
Aung San Suu Kyi doesn't count.
What?
We agreed he mentions her every time.
We all talk about the same thing, and it's independence.
Well, thanks once again for coming in, Mike.
Been a pleasure.
Fascinating to hear your views, and see you on Thursday Forum next week.
Okay,
Total, please.
Official total, not counting the Burmese chick, is 20! Congratulations to Emma. She wins the official Thursday Forum Tim Tams.
18. Big call. Any nervous moments?
Not really. Once they mentioned the Republican issue, I knew I was in with a chance.
How many?
20?
What do I say?
11.
Still underestimating.
And does that mean when he was talking to Yasser Arafat, he was talking to himself? Think about it.
Yeah, I was thinking, how many of those has he done impressions of? And does that count?
Well, not in that clip, but there's Desmond Tutu, of course, which he certainly did impersonate in a way that these days is considered to be problematic and really should have been considered a bit problematic at the time.
Mm-hmm. I also I think it's interesting that Mike is on a segment called Thursday Forum, yet it's just him and the host.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Surely you need at least another person to be classified as a forum.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'm sure Mike he wants solo airtime.
I was actually thinking like it might be a PHP BB forum or something like that.
Like I'm not wanting to get too pedantic about it, but
no, I think you're right there.
Yeah,
all right,
need a quorum for a forum.
Well, exactly. they're only quorate if they've got like two people, I would say.
So it should have been like Thursday head-to-head, Thursday confrontation.
I reckon it was something like, they Mike got annoyed with the radio show because it didn't have it wasn't a proper segment. And he wanted a named segment, and he wanted it to sound very grandiose because he's Mike Moore and he's a massive egoist, and they went with
maybe all the other experts got just scared off because of the constant name dropping.
Yeah, they couldn't compete.
It was Thursday. It was called Thursday Forum at the start of the year when they had 5 other guests. But Mike is... So by this stage, it's just Mike and some empty chairs.
Yeah, so the more he name drops, the more other people drop out. The irony.
Yes. Nice. Well, in the kitchen, Mike describes the cough button and all the intricate details in the radio.
As if Emma doesn't know.
Well, Emma does offer him a Tim Tam, and throughout the office, he name drops. And Mike takes a tape from Marty's pile of apparent blank tapes. But I do also got to give credit to how Mike was pushing on Emma. It's like, I need the rundown. I don't have time for this. I'm a very busy person, as he's sipping his coffee very carefully.
Yeah, crapping on about Edward de Bono again.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that got me thinking about it is that the episode is about how Mike only gets these people on to promote stuff. But then you're thinking like, wait, what was Yasser Arafat promoting when he was...
He's got an album out? Probably not.
But yeah, it is sort of weird that for an episode that's about commercial promotion, the first introduction of the concept is him actually speaking to, actual newsmakers. He might be big on name dropping, but, he presumably would have been interviewing, these people for a real reason, for a news reason, rather than them, trying to sell cars.
Yeah.
Can I just go back to the De Bono comment? Because the other week in my daughter's school newsletter, they actually mentioned De Bono. It's there. There it is, the white hat.
Oh, the white hat.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It says, check out the thinking hats model below to make you a stronger thinker, and wear different thinking hats so you can stretch your ideas and responses across all your subjects. So in this day and age, they're still teaching the different hats.
The 6 hat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I saw
Send
saw
them,
that and
send them
thought,
the episode that we covered of Frontline.
Yes, I could do that.
Yeah, just like there's an analysis right there.
Does the school understand it more than Mike Moore does? Because he really didn't understand the various hats or how
I'm
to
hoping
use them.
so. Yeah, the white
Gotta say,
hat
just-
is facts, information, data, research, and knowledge. I didn't read further.
Blue hat.
Does the school understand if Mike Moore's doing something, the idea is to not do that?
Yeah.
Mike discovers the whiteboard with a list of names that he has mentioned on the radio.
What's this?
That. Stu wrote that.
What's this, Stu?
I was writing him down for Emma.
Emma?
What?
What's this list up here?
Think you should ask Prousey.
Prousey?
Oh, just an idea.
Which is?
Oh, just listening to you on the radio before. I think it'd be a good idea to get the press to do an article on the fact that you get so many of the big names.
Yeah. I guess, to be honest, I never think about it.
You get 'em, mate.
Yeah, but we don't want to crow, Mike gets the big name.
Oh, we're not going to call it Mike Gets the Big Names.
Sure, but don't discount it. It's a catchy title.
Oh, you're the one that pulls it.
Yeah, well, I guess when you see it's quite a schoolboy, must be 15, 16 names up there.
20.
20, yeah. Be nice to see Mel Gibson.
Oh, still waiting.
Oh, that's all we can do.
Good save.
Lovely bit of buck passing going on there.
Yeah.
Hot potato.
Did we also notice that on the filing cabinet by Marty's desk, there's a sexy photo of Emma?
No, it's Raylene Hill, from Blue Healers. What's her name?
It looks a lot like Alison White.
Alison
Emma.
White.
No, it's not.
Yeah, Matt knows because
Wow.
he had a little bit of a crush on Emma, didn't he?
That's been hitting hands
Because he's eagle-eyed.
Yeah.
It's Raylene Hill, from Blue Healers.
Okay, well that's fine then, because I thought it was a bit weird that there would be a sort of weird, sexy photo of Emma on Marty's desk. That feels like maybe something that might have been caught on a hot mic.
Raylene Hill, who was in, out of all the shows other than Blue Healers, Paradise Beach and Water Rats.
Oh, what a CV.
Yeah.
It all comes back to Water Rats.
Yep. And also Shark Bay.
Yeah.
But yes, it'd be kind of weird having Emma Ward and Alison White coexisting in the same universe.
Well, it's even weirder if you imagine that Alison White doesn't exist in the Frontline universe, because of course she doesn't. And then there's a sexy photo of Emma on Marty's filing cabinet.
Yeah,
right?
There is a little bit of foreshadowing I'm alluding to, which I think Matt's gotten.
Hold that thought. We're going to save it for later on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same wavelength, Matt.
I regret bringing this up now.
No, nothing wrong with it. But
It'll be good.
You've unintentionally foreshadowed something.
Oh, I'm intrigued.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like I regret bringing this up should be like the subtitle of this podcast.
Yeah, just clip that, Matt, and just drop that randomly into all episodes.
Done. Well, Mike continues to name drop with Jeffrey. Oh, poor Jeff.
You meet some amazing people.
Oh, it's a privilege, sir. I mean, Nelson Mandela. I mean, when you're in the presence of someone as great as that.
He was on satellite.
Well, when you're on the same video link-up as someone as great. I mean, look, when you're in their poise, when you do it day in, day out, I mean, their greatness, it rubs off on you.
Must be a double-edged sword. Like when you speak to a serial killer, that rubs off on you too.
Only good rubs off, Jeff. It's a single-edged sword.
Even like Gaddafi?
I didn't listen to Gaddafi. I just went through the motion. I washed at the end of that.
Mm-hmm. Second blade cuts even closer.
Well, yeah, what was Gaddafi selling?
Yeah. Perfume?
Yeah.
He's on to promote his line of swords. Single edge only.
And camping gear. He so famously lived in tents, for those who don't get that joke. Anyway.
So at this point, we are still wondering how he cannot understand that these people are just there promoting something like Priscilla, the perfume. Oh, and Jeff's like, pity you couldn't talk about Elvis. And he's like, it's just a scratched record. Elvis, Elvis, Elvis. How can he not know? Maybe he doesn't. He's just in denial.
Well, what about, they could always have spoken about the Naked Gun, because that was...
Yeah. Yeah, well, exactly.
There is a certain kind of person in the media who does interviews but just isn't interested in them beyond the interviews. Like, it becomes your job where it's like, oh, well, I'm doing pop culture interviews now, but I'm not interested in pop culture. So I just read, as Mike does, you read the press kit and you just go off that.
No, Emma reads the press kit and writes Mike's questions.
Yes.
That's right. But it's sort of, there are people who, wouldn't put the connection because, they're, when they're interviewing Priscilla Presley, they're as equally disinterested in her perfume as they are in Elvis. So they're not sitting there going, damn, I've got 20 Elvis questions to ask. They're just like, oh, it's another job.
Yeah, you're not necessarily a fan or interested in that particular person. So you think, oh, well, I'll just ask them what they want to hear.
Yeah, it's nothing. Yeah, it's nothing personal.
We find out that Marty's supposedly blank tapes are actually a collection of bloopers, which haven't been erased. And the next day, Prowsey leads Mike on further with Mel Gibson being hard to get. And they talk about the time that Mike had interviewed Michael Crawford, which I actually have a tape of that right here.
Now, I was figuring out today that I've done about 12,000 interviews for Midday, about 12,000. I talk to people. They always want to know who was the best. Well, of course, that's impossible. But there is a top shelf that includes people like Paul Hogan, Tom Cruise, Robin Williams, Jane Fonda, Peter Ustinov, Sylvester Stallone, right through to that wonderful environmentalist David Suzuki. But always the name Michael Crawford comes up. He is probably the most popular of the lot. He certainly has the most devoted and wide-ranging group of fans I think of anyone we've spoken to, women, men and children. He has delighted audiences on stage and screen from Frank Spencer right on through to the Phantom, of course. Last year, Michael Crawford sold out his concert tour here, and also his album was #1 for a long, long time. Now, he promised Australia that he would come back when he had some new songs. Well, tonight, he keeps that promise. Would you please welcome Mr. Michael Crawford.
The promise or the threat?
Daryl Summers karate chop there. Cut the music off.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, basically sums up the episode. And we're done for Frontline. That's what it is. It had the name drops and then the promotional material.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But very, 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 very obvious example that they pulled from there.
Yeah. But that was, for the people playing at home, that was Ray Martin interviewing Michael Crawford, which was on repeat in the 90s.
He
even made it to DVD as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a big Michael Crawford and Ray Martin was, a big love affair on Australian television through the 90s. He seemed to keep coming back.
Yeah. You know what I discovered too, with Some Others Do Have 'Em, and I know everyone else knows this, but I'm always, today I learnt type thing, as I went into a deep dive, was that the Some Others Do Have 'Em theme song, that's Some Others Do Have 'Em, in the keys or the notes are actually spelling out Some Others Do Have 'Em in Morse code.
Oh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh, really? Oh, well, there you go. I learned something new.
It's a good fact.
Yeah. So Was it? Anyway. So every single key note, it's all Morse code. Yeah. Spelling out Some Others Do Have 'Em.
Some mothers do have them trapped in the basement. Please send help.
Yeah.
When Ray Martin's introducing Michael Crawford, it's like, from Frank Spencer to Phantom of the Opera, nothing in between. But those two.
To hosting the comedy award on the
1994 Logies.
Logies, yeah.
See, normally when people want to come up with something that Michael Crawford's done between Frank Spencer and Phantom, they have to go with Barnum, which is quite obscure, Really?
Later, Marty, Stu, and Trev watch on as Mike is interviewed by Alan of the Weekend Australian with some more tremendous name drops.
Then there was Carl Lewis, of course, absolute gentleman. The interview was only supposed to go for half an hour. We ended up going to dinner together. And Michael Jordan, of course. He was your tape's run out.
No, that's all right. Keep going.
No, it's okay. I've got a blank cassette right here. It's worth waiting. I've got a lot to say about Michael Jordan. Yeah, it says Brooke, but it's actually blank.
Yeah, I'll just check it first.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever you want. Must be tape hiss. Try the other side.
Tape piss.
Tape piss.
Taking a piss, yeah.
Or as is put on the captions, running water sounds.
Yeah, I thought that's really not an accurate description of
Water
what's going on.
sports, yeah.
It was a Japanese toilet, clearly. Constantly, yeah.
Yeah, I recognised the voice from Alan from the Australian, but was that Billy Pinnell?
That is Billy Pinnell, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
who's a good friend of Working Dog, because Working Dog tried to get a interview series running, and they made a pilot in 1991, which had Billy interviewing Ozzy Osbourne in a sandwich shop.
Yeah, a coffee with Ozzy.
Yeah, so that was made in 1991. Didn't get shown on Australian TV until 2002 because of all of the hype around the Osbournes reality show.
Okay.
And you can watch it on Working Dog's YouTube channel.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because I totally forgot. All right. Well, Marty wishes that he could hear what's going on inside, in which Trev does offer an arrangement of sorts. And Emma confirms with Prowsey that Mel Gibson is on board for Thursday, but Prowsey continues to hold off telling Mike. The longer he waits, the less Mike will think it's an ad. At least they're not promoting exercise equipment, in which Marty thinks that's a great story idea. Yeah. So straight on to sales. And that reminds me of that, I know it's happened numerous times now, but one that really was distinctive, stuck out like a sore thumb for me. I was watching A Current Affair, and they were doing one that was all about Christmas shopping. It's like, what can the kids get at Kmart this Christmas, right? And then I just remember
the same stuff as all the other shops, but Kmart are the ones that are paying us, so we'll say Kmart.
Yes, and I just remember that the reporter was talking to the kids, the two kids, which were I think age 10, and one of them goes, "Oh, I'm really into my DJing, so I'm hoping they've got DJ equipment and everything there." This is at Kmart, and then when they come back to say, "Hey, what'd you get?" He goes, "Oh, I got this basketball set." So the sheer disappointment. So
unfortunately, the Anco brand two turntables and a microphone were out of stock.
Yeah.
How crappy is the Abdominator though? This piece of exercise equipment. I remember those things. I used to go to a gym in the late 90s, and they had those things, and they're quite flimsy, really. Like they would certainly exercise your stomach. It would hurt the next day, but they were also a bit crappy.
Yeah,
they weren't the Far Eastern flimsy.
I'm sure they were Far Eastern flimsies.
I did actually have one of those in the 90s. I think they were all the rage. I don't know why, but there was even a little video that it came with just to show you how to use it. And it was.
I remember my neighbor, growing up, the neighbor next door, she had one, and when I gave it a shot, it's just like, this is nothing. And then when I was mucking around with it, when we were over there having a barbecue, and then my grandfather goes, "Oh, I got some PVC piping in my garage. I can knock that up straight away if you want, Matthew." So it's because I was just sitting there. I was only 12, 13. So it was just really basically my neighbor had paid a good $100 or something for it. So it's like, oh, I can make that out of leftover scrap pipe.
You just about could have done. There was a
And
sort
a couple of pillows.
Yeah, there were on each arm of it. You had a little sort of rest, a padded rest for your elbows.
Yep.
So you just need to find that really, but you could make
That,
it
or
in
you
your
just
shed.
wait 6 months and the op shops will be full of them.
Yeah, they were pretty
probably.
flimsy.
You don't really see those things around now. You know?
No, I remember putting mine on the tip.
Hard rubbish days.
Yeah, well, that's what exactly what we just said at the same time. But that I remember finding it in the in an old cupboard and thinking that's definitely for the hard rubbish. So there it went.
Sitting next to the piles and piles of thigh blasters.
One other thing, so in this scene, it is explicitly pointed out to the audience that these things are ads.
Yep.
Essentially, even though they may not be explicit, everybody's selling something. Which I'm sure I've said countless times before. Like these interviews, it's a symbiotic relationship. The interviewee wants something from the interviewer, and vice versa. And yeah, it's just in this case, the interviewee wants to plug something.
Yeah, well, we talked about like what's Yasser Arafat plugging, what's Gaddafi plugging. Well, they're plugging their point of view and their ideas and what they're agitating for.
It's not really shown in this scene as being a bad thing, but sort of it is exposed, basically.
Yeah. Like realistically, this is a way of doing business. There are ways to do it that don't necessarily throw the audience under the bus. You can sort of do a thing on the abdominizer and then also talk about other things and make it a proper story that is also still an ad. But it's just when you get the crass sort of, check this out, it's great, now back to the weather sort of thing, where there's no other context provided that you really get, it's just an ad. There's nothing more to it.
Yeah, and these days this sort of thing is just social media influencers. All the ones who are popular, they're always promoting some protein powder or
it's all it is.
or beauty product or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah,
I swear we have really turned into a Gruen podcast.
Yeah, I'm afraid we have.
Oh dear.
Nice one, Will.
Very funny joke.
In my line of work, which is not even a line of work now, but the whole film reviewing thing, it's just influencers now. It really is just because previously, when Frontline was done, there was this kind of quid pro quo where it was like, well, we're giving you access, you're giving us promotion. But now with influencers, like, well, we don't need you. You might say something bad or thoughtful about our product. We'll just get influencers who will
just move on to the next one.
Yeah, they'll get their photo taken. They'll go, we had a great night. And that's it. There's nothing more. It's just an ad. It's and a really basic ad at that. But because you can get that stuff for free now, it's like, well, we don't need, shows like Frontline to promote our product anymore. We can do it all on social media for free. So in a way, this is sort of a current day version of Mike Moore wouldn't be getting the big names because they wouldn't bother. They'd just go, we'll do our own ad.
Yeah, they would have their own social media.
Mike's interview with Ellen from the Weekend Australian wraps up and plans to send a photographer around next week. And Marty scores a story on the Abdominator, getting 6 samples as well in the process. And Trev has a chat with Mike too.
So I just wanted to welcome you on board, and we're a team of pretty happy campers here, so if there's a problem, don't hesitate to speak up.
Cool.
As Deepak Chopra said to me when I spoke to him recently, silence is the... what was that? Did you hear something?
No.
Anyway, the point is my door is always open. Come in.
Sorry, Trev.
No worries. Just leaving. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, good on you, Trev. Welcome aboard.
Thanks.
That's such a subtle joke, that.
Yeah.
Like, so subtle. And then afterwards, just close the door. Yeah.
I watched an episode of Strife, the new Asher Keddy dramedy, which basically had the same joke. I think any show that's got a boss with an office has a joke where my door is always open in a metaphorical sense, closes the door behind them, sort of.
Well then, Friday Night Funny Man, though, Elliot Rhodes, has a jingle about Rupert Murdoch, which is a bit left of field.
Murdoch, the media baron, he's a Yankee millionaire, owns a lot of TV stations, doesn't have a lot of hair, but he's got a heap of money. Some would say he's got too much.
What is he doing? We've been trying to get Rupert Murdoch on for 3 months.
It's just a joke, Mike.
That could cost me a big interview. It should have been on the running sheet.
It is.
Well, see, that's why I wanted earlier. Use a highlighting pen.
Sorry, Mike.
I can't laugh at the end of this.
That's Elliot's view. Have a great weekend. See you Monday.
That is so
He's a
Ray
borrowed
Martin,
card.
like back announcing Clark and Dorr, isn't it? Because like Ray Martin sort of famously wasn't really a fan of Clark and Dorr, which I think is why they were dumped around 1997. And so he wouldn't laugh. Jan Event used to laugh at their sketches. And Ray just sort of went, yes, well, that's what they think, sort of try and distance himself from it. So that was quite interesting.
That's very much.
Funny you mention Clark and Dorr because, they weren't on TV around this time. They managed to get a weekly spot on 3AW and 2, I forget if it was 2GB or 2UE, but whichever one was owned by Southern Cross at the time. But yeah, basically they'd gone back to radio after their stint on TV. And,
because they started on ABC Radio around 87, I think it was.
Yeah, went to TV, back to radio, and then back to the ABC again.
Actually, they started off as a newspaper column. Well, it was a John Clark penned newspaper column, and then Clark met Dorr at ABC Radio and said, could I just try this on the radio? And it was one of his columns, and then history occurred. Yeah.
It all clicked.
The rest is history, is what I meant to say.
No, so no front falling off at that time?
Well, the front fell off was about 1990, I think.
Or
91.
Sorry, I'm just trying to say that's like the most iconic line.
It
Front
is.
fell off.
It is.
As soon as you say that, people know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
The bit with Mike not laughing was interesting, I thought, because it does show the other side of this relationship, which is where once you're kind of beholden to your subjects, once you've sort of got to, get them on board, it really starts to limit what you can do and what you can say because you don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you're running ads for stuff because you're getting it for free. And on the other, you can't say anything bad about anybody or anything because then you won't get stuff for free.
But you notice what Elliot's costume or his outfit is just all made out of
American banknotes on his tie and on his sleeve.
Yeah. I like these later Elliots because he really, he gets costumes, and it sort of it subtly reminds us that Frontline's like a bigger show now. In the first 2 series, it's a bit struggling, and it's cheap, but now they've got lots of money, and so Elliot can splash out on American dollar costumes. And dressing up like David Heathcote a few episodes ago.
That's right.
Well, the next morning, Mike arrives in the office with everyone using the Abdominator, and Mike does cry foul with Prowsey, thinking it's turning Frontline into an advertorial. And the Mel Gibson interview chances have improved to 50-50. However...
One other thing. I ran into Richard Wilkins on the weekend. You know my Alanis Morissette interview?
Uh-huh.
Not an exclusive. No, she spoke to lots of people. So I was thinking we should get my interview on air ASAP.
I'm not allowed.
What do you mean we're not allowed?
I'm not allowed to turn my back on the basic principles of timing. You taught me that.
Yeah. But the timing's good. I mean, it will be the first interview to air. We'll beat everyone else.
No. We strike when the iron is hot. And when's the heat? Right when she launches that new album.
Yeah, but if we play it first, then I stand out from the crowd.
No, I'll tell you how you stand out from the crowd, right? You get into the crowd, right? And then you stand out from the crowd. I mean, you taught me that too.
Did I?
Oh, Mike.
Yeah.
I can't even think of
Doesn't
it.
know the meaning of the word embargo.
Yeah. Oh well. And so Dom is making notes for Mike from Mel Gibson's press kit, with Marty suggesting a few extra notes to add.
These are gold. I love these
So-
additional facts.
Nowadays, it would just be someone going on Wikipedia and making those edits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mel Gibson is the second highest grossing box office star in the world.
Who's first?
Phyllis Diller. Really no surprise to me. I can't even name a film she's been in, but it's all here in the research.
What an enlightened pre-Google time.
Oh, if it was like reversed or whatever Australian, you just go, the number one box office, Bruce Samazan.
Yeah, well, to be honest, AI would probably churn out those kind of lies as well.
Yeah.
You ask it.
Yeah.
There's no truth anymore.
Yeah.
Just AI
Well,
slop.
Back when this was made, those press kits, because I used to get press kits like that, that really was how you found out about these things. It was a lot harder to dig stuff up. And these days, they just don't bother. They expect you to go onto IMDb and find things out yourself. Whereas, back then, the press kits really were steering you in the direction they wanted you to take for stuff. They would point out the good bits and cover up the bad.
Do you not even get a press release via email?
You'll get a press release.
I get them on a daily basis.
We get a lot of press releases for things, but for movies these days, a lot of the time it's press releases for trailers. There will be if there's an invitation to a screening, there'll be that. But often now there's nothing sort of more than that. They don't give you, any kind of information to go on apart from go to the movie. Whereas in the past, there would be, quite a lengthy press kit. And I think I've still got the one for Bad Eggs because Tony Martin wrote that himself. And that's great. It's full of jokes and all that sort of stuff and information. And back then, often that would be all you would have to go on if you were, doing anything about a movie or interviewing the people from a movie. Because, where else are you going to find out what else they did unless you already, had a bunch of Leonard Maltin movie guides or something around your house?
I used to do a bit of community radio in Adelaide in the late 90s, and
sorry to hear that.
I had fun. I don't know that the listeners.
No,
did.
you mentioned Adelaide, so.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Daniel.
Oh,
come on.
Easy target.
TV isn't that bad.
It's called Radio Adelaide now.
Is that the jazz one? Is that the jazz one?
No, it was the very first community radio station in Australia.
I shit you not.
Up until probably the last decade or so, it was part of the University of Adelaide.
I will be
it's
brutally
kind of
honest here. When I was going through, before I sought medical help for it, when I was trying to curb my anxiety, this was a couple of years ago, when I realised how bad it was, I was trying to work out, I need distractions. I need to listen to music that will kind of soothe the soul. And I went down the path and I just discovered the jazz lunch on a Adelaide community radio station.
That sounds like the kind of thing that they would broadcast, because I mean, like a lot of community stations, they had so many different shows of like every single niche you can imagine.
Yeah, but the entire station was jazz.
Oh, the entire station was jazz.
Yeah, but
no,
I
that's
just listened to
not what it is. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, what I was going to say was that we would occasionally get, and this was on reel-to-reel tape still in the 90s, you would get sort of a new movie had come out and there'd be an interview with the star, and then there would be space for you to cut in the questions like you'd interview.
Yes.
So basically like a nodding where you've got the nodding.
Yeah.
And
but it's
in.
audio, so you're not nodding, you're reading out the question.
The audio version of it, yes.
It's such a scam, but also such an invitation to cut it up in your own malicious and funny ways and have fun with it, which of course I never did.
But Tony Martin definitely did. He's talked about it in one of his books.
And when Mike realizes that it's basically making ads or advertorials as he's reading out the auto cue, and he just refuses to say it, Prowsey calls out Mike for not reading it. So, and it's like, all right, you do what you want. Turn off the auto cue. He's like, no, don't turn it off. I'll read it. It's all in principle.
He needs his blankie.
Yeah. Now
the safety of the auto cue.
Yeah. The next morning, Marty arrives in the office and most of the staff are really done.
They've been abdominated.
Yeah, they definitely were. If Commercial Crime Stoppers has taught us anything, never trust a Far East and flimsy. You're right, Alison.
Yeah. And Prowsey updates Mike on the Mel Gibson chances.
You know how I was saying yesterday, the chances of getting Mel Gibson...
Actually, listen carefully to this. I'll start it again.
Yeah.
So, Alison, listen.
Alison, carefully.
Here we go.
Listen carefully to this.
You know how I was saying yesterday, the chances of getting Mel Gibson were... What did I say?
50-50.
90-10. 90-10, wow. Susie just rang, right? He's been wavering. He doesn't want to do any interviews, right? Who's he bump into? Bruce Lee. They get talking, and Bruce says, you got to do Mike Moore. He's great.
Bruce Lee's dead.
Bruce Willis.
Oh, great. Oh, I interviewed him when he came out for...
Planet Hollywood. There's something else. It's up to you.
No.
Mel really wants to talk about the new movie, right? He does want to go back over that Lethal Weapon madness. What a history lesson.
Went to NIDA with Judy Davis.
Yeah, Steve Busy. I mean, what are they doing now?
Right. I want to talk about his new movie.
Right, well, I reckon they'll say yes.
Besides, I've done all the research, sir. Done it all. You can ask me any question about Mel Gibson. Go on. No. Come on. Just ask a question.
What was his first film?
Alvin Purple.
No, it's Mad Max.
Alvin Purple. You want to know his second? Storm Boy.
He wasn't in Storm.
Ah, gotcha. Good trivia question. You know when the Pelican spoke? Mel Gibson's voice.
So, did you hear it, Alison? Did you hear it?
So, okay, Alison White may not appear in the same universe as Frontline, but Steve Bisley certainly does.
Yes, there we go.
There you go.
I love the way that he delivered it. He just threw away his own name.
You basically almost don't hear it.
I had to rewind it just to make sure he actually did say it.
Yeah. Now, I haven't watched Storm Boy for a while, but
Mel Gibson
when the pelican does when it goes ow, ow, I assume it's its only dialogue. So that's Mel Gibson doing that, is it?
No, he's spewing out anti-Semitic comments from.
Mel Gibson speaks in the remake from a few years ago, but it works blue. You don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
But yes, and he is in Alvin Purple. So
I know that you have a copy of Alvin Purple, but not of Storm Boy.
No, I haven't yet. I haven't found it in the $2 shop.
Is it because Storm Boy is a South Australian film and you hate us for some reason in this episode?
Yeah.
If he really wants to see Storm Boy, I'm pretty sure it's on that Broly service.
Streaming
service.
It is. So Steve Bisley does appear in the Frontline universe. So
it was interesting. They don't mention the film Mel Gibson is there to promote, but they do show the press kit. And it's Ransom, which is a good film. So
the Give Me Back My Son type. Yeah. It actually was a great thriller film.
It's sort of it's disconcerting these days that Mel Gibson actually did make some good movies that are now somewhat more difficult to watch.
The amount of times that I see clips of what women want on my socials, and I'm just going, get it.
I think that's more a fault of your socials, Matt.
Okay, well,
the algorithm it's your own fault, mate. That algorithm.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, fine. It's that or clips from Hey Hey when he pops up down there.
Yeah, that's more of the algorithm you want. It's probably a better algorithm than clips of Mel Gibson.
You need to steer it in that direction.
Christy, the weekend Australian photographer, arrives, and that is played by the wonderful Frances O'Connor before she became a big Hollywood name.
Yeah.
Was this was after Love and Other Catastrophes, was it?
Yeah, Love and Other Catastrophes.
That was 96 from memory.
Yeah. Okay. So this is just before her time in Bedazzled and everything too. So so this is basically, they got her before she spread her wings. And Marty and co eavesdrop in on the thanks. While Marty and co eavesdrop in thanks to a well-placed radio microphone.
I spoke to all the Eagles.
That is crystal clear, Trev.
Of course, mate.
Marty, keeping count?
I'm too depressed.
Why?
I just fear that he'll
pull a bird.
I don't mind name dropping for publicity, but when he does it to pick up chicks, it really, really hurts.
Mate, he won't get it.
In the old days, it would take 5 minutes to work out that Mike was dull. But now, with all his shtick, it can take up to a day.
Wow, you really get to meet some amazing people.
Yeah, you did perk of the job. I mean, you'd be the same, you know. Actually, next week, and this is off the record, not to go beyond this room, I'm interviewing Mel Gibson.
I know.
What do you mean?
Have you booked it still?
Book, it's not confirmed yet. It's 9010.
Yeah, it was confirmed last week. You've got the only TV, we've got the press, Martin Malloy radio.
A week ago?
I've got it in my diary, if you want to...
I knew that. Oh, come on. I'm just going to make a call.
Okay.
Did you hear that name drop?
Yes.
Yeah. Martin Malloy Radio.
Yeah. Well, they would be the obvious ones to get because they were so popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
do we think they would say yes?
Well, yeah, that's sort of, it made sense.
That's up in the air.
Yeah. It'd be good publicity for Mel Gibson, but whether they would do it would be another.
Also, Christy looks like quite a close-up photographer going by those scenes.
Yeah, she was getting right in there. I know that there was a trend where in a magazine I used to work at around that time where people would just do that kind of, you're in a position of power and kind of get down low and do that kind of up the nostril kind of look.
And also with Frances O'Connor, she was in before Frontline. She was in Shark Bay, and GP, Blue Healers. They're all Blue Healers. Halifax FP, The Man from Snowy River, and The Damnation of Harvey McHugh, and Law of the Land.
Yes.
What? No water rats?
No water rats. No. She missed the boat on that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice
It's not
one,
even worthy of a boomtish. Right. So with that, Prowsey tells Emma that Microsoft have booked a shitload of ads next month and Bill Gates might be in Australia. Plus, he faces the music with Mike.
Hey, get that frown off your face. You're talking to Mel Gibson.
Get that smirk off your face. I am not.
What do you mean? I just had Susie on the phone.
I happen to know for a fact that the Gibson interview was booked in a week ago.
What? Who
Don't
told you
bullshit
that?
me.
How dare you? I'm sorry, Mike.
Leave me on like a child. The most popular box office star since Ernest Borgnine. Why?
I didn't want to, but...
Why?
Because they've been putting the heat on, and I was afraid that you wouldn't want to talk about the film.
Of course I would.
I was afraid that you'd think it was an ad.
What?
Look, I just dug myself into a hole. It just got deeper and deeper. I'm sorry.
If that happens, come to me. Tell me, that's all I ask. Look, this is a partnership. If you're worried, let's work it through together. If the people in this office can't trust each other, then what have we got?
Mate, I'm sorry.
If we don't have honesty between each other, then we've got nothing.
And
Prowsey is a bloody good actor.
Oh, 100%.
Just as good as that Steve Bisley bloke.
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But imagine that if we totally missed out on an opportunity to have Phyllis Diller and Ernest Borgnine in the ultimate blockbuster. Like, you know, it could have been just something magical. You know, imagine them doing The Matrix.
Well, they were both on the Don Lane show, weren't they? I mean, Phyllis Diller certainly was. I imagine Ernest Borgnine was. So I think Mike Moore's probably, you know, a good 15 years too late to do those two. But
yeah.
Oh, Ernest Borgnine was on The Simpsons at one point, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, during the Boy Scout one.
That's right. Yeah.
All right, and then Emma confirms that Bill Gates is on board, with Prowsey telling Mike that he has no idea why he's. Yeah.
Yeah, and all this time they've got that hot mic there. So everyone else is listening in on this conversation. Very dumbfounded.
I thought there was going to be a bit more of a plot around the hot mic in Mike's office, and maybe there will be in future episodes. Although, coming up, there is a bit of a hot mic moment.
Did you? Yeah, during the mid-credits.
Yes.
Yeah, Mike and Christy are in the car after a date, and Marty and Stu and Trev hear the most happiest ASMR around.
The soft and sexy sounds of Mike Moore.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
The many moods of Moore.
What One of the jokes I think that's got funnier over the years is just the size of these microphones.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not some little button mic taped under the desk. It's a brick that, you could see if you walked into the room. You'd go, what's that thing under the desk?
Well, the one in Mike's car has got this massive aerial on it because, of course, they can't be near to it like the one in the office, which wouldn't need much of an aerial. But, I mean, they're listening to it in the office, and Mike's car is presumably parked outside her place or something. So, depending on where she lives, she's ages away from the office.
Presumably, Mike is just used to seeing these large black objects taped to walls and and he just doesn't notice it now. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's furniture now.
It's not exactly hidden, is it, that Mike in his car?
No. Did you notice too that that Brooke only had a really minor role in this episode?
Yeah.
She only appeared a couple of times and then basically disappeared.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Anyway, just
well,
want to point
also the other thing is that the writers really missed a trick, not having Marty enraged that Mike Moore's going to score. Handing money to either Stu or Trev as though there was some sort of a bet going on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that concludes Frontline Season 3, Episode 8, and the Champagne Comedy Podcast, Episode 74. Oh, we're getting close to the end. We've got...
On to the last disc.
Last disc and...
Five more episodes.
Yeah, and only 5 more skip to the next episode button pushes on your remote if you're watching on iView or watching it on watchworkingdog.com.
Is there going to be like a compilation where we cover all the other Mike Moore appearances on the panel and every other charity thing where Rob Sitch slapped on the wig for 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah, and Denton and everything, yes. Well, we've got to, feel free to email and complain to us, champagnelateshow@gmail.com. Check this episode's show notes for all our socials, as well as Facebook. Search the Champagne Comedy Podcast group and join the witty banter and the sparkling repartee. And don't forget to buy the team a coffee, please. That'll be great. buymeacoffee.com/TLS Champagne Pod. So again, thank you, Alison, Daniel, Kim, and Tony for coming on. And as well, a very special thank you to superstar Audrey. So she just completely,
nailed
completely
it.
floored us, yes.
Oh, nailed.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you.
done to that. So, thank you very much. I'm Matt, and thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next episode. Bye.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Champagne Comedy Podcast, created by fans for the fans. For more information on this podcast, please visit champagnecomedy.com. Produced by Matt Fulton Productions, mattfulton.com.au.
Silence is the... what was that? Did you hear something?
No.
I don't know.
Excuse me?
It was either that or someone urinating, so I just thought I'll keep it classy.
Yeah.
Yeah. End on a high note.